with Barack and Michelle Obama's faces over apes? Is the Democrat Party the real racist party? That's what I'll be talking about today on Chat with Me, Linda B. All right, warriors, you know what to do. Don't forget to smash that like button, comment, share, subscribe to my channel, select the all notification bell. Stick around to the end. Also, make sure that your notifications are turned on all of your devices. All right, warriors, let's go. All right, y'all have heard about this Obama situation with their faces, Michelle and Barack. That meme, and they have like ape bodies. But did everybody just forget the big picture here? That video, almost all of it, and I mean almost all of it, was actually about election fraud. Did the left, the liberals, the wokety wokes, the Democrat Party, and their voters just expose themselves as the real racists? I'm going to tell you why I think that is, because I'm going to let you guys see it in its entirety. Not everybody is showing the entire clip from beginning to end, and I have a very controversial take on what really happened. I'm just going to let you know right now. It's controversial. You're going to be like, Linda B, that was just a scroll up and it was just a mistake. Well, I'm allowed to have an opinion, okay? But I'm going to let you actually see the clip. We're going to get President Trump's response, and then I will come back with what I think is really, really going on.
Initiated by a court order, the Michigan investigation team obtained forensic access to a DS-200 tabulator, the machine that counts the votes. A Telit 4G wireless chip manufactured in Taiwan was discovered embedded into the motherboard. The voting machine tapes clearly indicate modem engagement and transmission of election data. Some of the anomalies that we noticed in the 2020 general elections, that 5 key states all stopped counting at a certain time in these key battleground states. These were all where the software, Dominion machines, ES&S machines were used, the Smartmatic, the GEMS software. So when the vote stopped counting, and this has been noted in other countries as well, President Trump was significantly ahead. When reporting and counting resumed, there was a massive spike occurred that favored Joe Biden.
Mr. President, social media post that you took down earlier today, the White House says that a staffer sent it. Who sent it, and are you going to fire them?
I looked at it. I saw it, and I just looked at the first part. It was about voter fraud in someplace, Georgia. There was a lot of voter fraud, 2020 voter fraud. And I didn't see the whole thing. I guess during the end of it, there was some kind of that people don't like. I wouldn't like it either, but I didn't see it. I looked at the first part, and it was really about voter fraud in and the machines, how crooked it is, how disgusting it is. Then I gave it to the people. Generally, they look at the whole thing, but I guess somebody didn't, and they posted, and we took it down, and we turned it. But that was a voter fraud that nobody talks about. They don't like to talk about that post. We took it down as soon as we found out about it. Nobody can tell me about that. That somebody posts, a staffer, posts, and I knew it was all about. If you take a look at that and see the whole thing, it was a small section at the very end, but that was about fraudulent elections, which we have a lot of them. We're going to get it stopped, and I liked the beginning. I saw it and just passed it on, and I guess probably nobody reviewed the end of it, because what I saw at the beginning was really, really strong. It was about fraudulent elections, and anytime I see that stuff, and when it's credible, you put it up. But somebody slipped and missed a very small part. Now, by the way, again, the takeoff one, I guess, I didn't do it, by the way. This was done by somebody else. This was a retruth. That was not done by us. But that was a very strong truth. It was a very strong statement made about the fraudulent elections in a certain part of our country, which are really bad.
That certain part of the country, as you saw, is Georgia, which is where I reside. Georgia, let's get it together. I still have my issues with the Georgia Secretary of State, Brad Raffensperger. Yes, the one that said those 315,000 non-certified votes were just clerical error, but they were still votes for Joe Biden. Oh, yeah. Okay. All right. Whatever. Okay. Because if you look at the video, we'll get about the controversial. I'll get onto the controversial part with the Obamas in just a moment. The video is really about election fraud. They skip all over that. And that was information and proof that there was modem tampering in these machines. That's why we should hand count the votes. And the newly inaugurated Virginia Governor Abigail Spanberger, one of her executive orders was to make it illegal to hand count votes. Now, why would this Democrat, Abigail Spanberger, newly inaugurated governor of Virginia, make it so that it is illegal to hand count votes? Because they want stuff like this on the Democrat side. This is just my opinion. Because why would you then confirm our suspicions by making it illegal anyway? The machines, the modems were tampered with. At first, President Trump in 2020 was clearly massively ahead. Then all of a sudden, it happens that Joe Biden is ahead. Now, that was a bunch of stuff going on. Okay, I don't care what anybody says. For the folks that wanted Joe Biden to win, they're going to say, no, it was a free and fair and secure election. No, it was not. There's evidence of press releases that people are saying, oh, I had to drive from New York to Pennsylvania and dump off a bunch of ballots. But they did not put that in the mainstream news. Yeah. So remember, as I've done videos on, the news works for the folks in the background. In other words, they are an arm of the Democrat Party, allegedly. But you know what I'm saying. You know, if you've been watching me for a while, you know exactly what I am saying. And don't think it's above them to do stuff like that, because this is about power. And that means, hey, the ends justify the means, right? So anyway, back to the part with Obama and Michelle. Okay, Barack Obama. It was a little bit, this is kind of controversial what I'm about to say. It could have been a mistake, just like President Trump was indicating, because sometimes with digital or the internet or social media, anytime you're dealing with things like this, electronics, things can happen like that. I mean, it legitimately can. And it is nothing that anyone did maliciously. Let me just put that out there. This is just a thought that came to my head. And it's because ever since 2015, when President Trump rode down that escalator and he said he was going for the folks in the background, you know, the ones that control things. I don't want to say the name. The initials are DS. You know what I'm saying? The puppet masters. They have said, we're going to come after him. We're going to get him. So they are very much the mindset of get Trump, get Trump. Let's just get him. Any means necessary. That's why he's gone through assassination attempts that he has survived. He's gone through smear campaign after smear campaign, people coming up out of the blue, out of nowhere saying, oh, like his nephew, Fred Trump Jr., saying that he's a notorious racist. He's a nuclear racist, or whatever he said right before the election. Nobody believed you, by the way. All right. And then all these things with Justice Smollett saying that people that had MAGA hats on in Chicago attacked him. Remember all of that? All of this, all of these hoaxes, all of these things are surrounded around get Trump, because they can't depend on their ridiculous indoctrination policies. And they're not even policies. But what I believe happened, or what could have happened rather, is that a staffer did this intentionally by putting a little bit of Barack and Michelle towards the very, very, very end. You had like a half a second left of the original video, which is about voter fraud. So that's what makes me think, well, how did it end up almost at the end like that? Well, maybe you guys are familiar with things like that. I am not. Okay, it did not just end completely with Barack and Michelle with those ape bodies. It ended, the last frame was back to the voter fraud, election fraud video. Okay. All right. And the reason I say that is because, it could have been a plant or a mole in the Trump administration, somebody trying to sabotage him. It wouldn't be the first time. They'll do anything now. Okay. And then put it out there. President Trump just saw the beginning, reposted it. He did not post it originally and did not look at it all the way. And because again, if you saw how it is almost at very, very end of the video, then the staffer, in my opinion, could have alerted the press saying, look at this. Or it could have been the press always nitpicks everything and looks at President Trump's posts anyway. But that thought did come to my mind because they are always trying to get Trump. That could have been a very malicious staffer. And then they contacted the press, and then it blows up, and then it's political advantage for the Democrats to say, see, I told you he's a racist. He's not a racist. He took it down, and I don't know what's going to happen to that staffer. Part of me wants to believe that it was actually a mistake, but that other thought did come to my mind, because we have a lot of that going on. But y'all gonna overlook the fact that it was about election fraud. Overlook the fact that 2020 had some missteps, to put it mildly. And I'm just going to put it mildly. But the left loves this. They're focused on it. They can't get enough of racism. They just can't. That's the only tool in their arsenal. Never mind having a real policy to benefit the American people. Never mind the fact that Democrat Party policies are horrible. Never mind that Democrat-led cities for the past 70 or so years have been in the dumps when it comes to crime, poverty, and public school education. And it hurts Black people the most, these policies. And they emotionalize us and use trigger words like racism, systemic racism, white supremacy. And then we go, and then we're unable to be logical. We have to be able to think. They're playing us like a fiddle. And this is just another instance. They just hop on board with it. Again, it could have been an innocent mistake. But what if it wasn't a mistake? What if it was malicious by that staffer? What if it was? I'm just asking people to think now. And then they reported it to the press, hoping it would slip by. I'm more than likely it was a mistake. It was a mistake. And if you saw the whole video of the Mufasa, the Democrat Party, various Democrat politicians have their faces on the bodies of animals. They do. It's not just the Obamas. They even have Biden in a tree eating a banana as a baboon. and I'm gonna just show you this if you haven't. There were various Democrat politicians. There were a couple of faces that I'm not familiar with. The person portraying the flamingo and the pig, I don't know who they were. Maybe they are just some kind of commentator, activist, or someone, I don't know. And how did Whoopi get in there? Whoopi Goldberg is like a hippopotamus, I think. So there you have it. There you have it. It was not just the Obamas, but that's what appeared in that little snippet towards the end of that election fraud video. But I just wanted to show the entire thing to you guys because people are making a big deal about this. And they're trying to paint, again, surprise, they're trying to paint President Trump as a racist when they are not looking at the fact that the Bureau of Labor and Statistics actually show that Black Americans did better under the Trump administration, the first term. We have to see how the rest of this term turns out, the second term. Better under Trump than under Obama. And before you liberals get in my comment section saying that, well, Obama had to clean up the mess from Republican President George W. Bush. Obama had 8 years, 2 consecutive terms as president. I repeat, 2 consecutive terms and a filibuster-proof Congress. So you want to tell me that it was all about cleaning up the mess of the previous president that happened to have been Republican? No, it is not. It is about the policies of the Democrat Party. When they say free, that means higher taxes on the working folks. That's what they mean when they say free, 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 universal health care, free, free. It means money to the insurance companies, money to these evil politicians. And yes, the middle class, working class American gets taxed a lot. You get less of your money back in your pocket. That is what that means. You're going to get worse crime, worse schools, worse poverty. That's what you get when you vote Democrat. And they're focusing on the illegals, by the way. Never forget that. So again, they're making a big deal about this because they love it. Oh, they are chomping at the bit like a dog on a bone. Honey, it was a mistake. And then if you look at, again, the whole video, other Democrat politicians and people that are well known, like Whoopi Goldberg and those 2 other people I don't recognize, were also as animals. A lot of white people were in there as animals. Okay, so don't make it racist. And President Trump made it, he kept in the interview, he said, this is about election fraud, election fraud, election fraud. So we're going to forget about the fraud, about how Democrats have ruined our communities, particularly the Black community who overwhelmingly still votes Democrat. We just forget about that, but make this a big deal. Forget about the fact that under Trump, everybody was doing better than they were under Biden. Forget about all of that and under Obama. But my opinion, Biden just might be the worst, absolute worst president ever. Okay, I don't know. It's a close call between him and Obama. I don't know. But you guys tell me what you think about this video, this whole thing. The lefts, the liberals, the Democrats have shown that they are the ones that hate America. They don't care about free, secure elections. They care more about race baiting. Race baiting, that's what they do. So this actually proves that they're focused on it. And don't forget all those other hoaxes that I mentioned. The Justice Smollett hoax. Most recently, her name was Nasra Ahmed, a Somali woman of 23 years old up in Minnesota, said that ICE called her the N-word and pushed her down. But later the video came out. She spat on ICE and they did not push her down. Again, another hoax. These people are the haters of America. They want to divide and conquer us by ethnicity. We are one human race. Let us never forget that. We have way more in common than we have different. Don't let them trick you into hating and having grievances. That is satanic. Putting hate inside of someone. And when you sense that you're feeling emotional or angry based on music or news or TV shows or whatever it is that you're watching or listening to, whether it's a podcast, you feel hate and anger towards a certain group of people, then you should not watch or listen to that information any longer. Just cut it off, cold turkey. Doing is putting hate in you and grievances in you. And I am for, well, never mind what I'm for. God is not for that. God is for people to be, who belong to him, that is, to be united in the Lord. How good and pleasant it is for brethren to dwell together in unity. Of course, that's talking about true believers, no matter what we look like. So don't let them come in here and trick you into thinking white Christians or white nationalists are evil. They're just coming up with other terms, trying to demonize Christianity, trying to demonize straight white men that are Christian. That's why they hated Charlie Kirk so much. They hated his guts because he's everything that they hate. They actually hate God, let's be clear, but they can't get their hands on God. So they do the next best thing, get their hands and their smearing mouths on God's people. Let's never, ever forget that. Thank you all so much for watching this video. Don't forget to like the video, comment, share, subscribe to my channel, select the all notification bell. You all be blessed. Remember, it is about God, family, and country. And as I always say, march on, warriors.